think it's time to do the thing. Leave Mother Laurel.
Revel, outsider, for he has chosen you.
Tree, Father Branch.
Is something amiss?
Yes, it's Birch, not Branch.
What is it you wish to talk about, my friend?
I'm ready to undertake the ceremony.
Very good. Take your place in front of the basin, and let's begin.
What do you mean in front of the basin? What's the front of the basin? Is it this? Do I hang on to these? You can't use... Dude, it's not working.
You must drink from the basin if you wish to meet him.
What? How can you even drink from this? It's the little jiggly jiggles, isn't it? Oh, there it is. The basin of purification is filled with some sort of thick, viscous sap. And I'm gonna drink the sap. Bethesda is really obsessed with drinking sap.
We will now recite the blessing to ward off any harm the outsider may be carrying before he proceeds to the grove.
I bid you depart, agents of destruction, through the power of his divine will.
Leave our homes and bodies immediately. Live no longer in them, but pass over into places where you can harm no one.
In the name of his frondescence, I call his wrath upon you, so that wherever you may go, you bear it with you.
And, diminishing from day to day, you may disappear, except where you serve the health and good purposes of mankind. May no trace of you be found.
All this, may he be so good as to grant us, who is to come to judge the living and the dead, and the world by his verdure.
Amen. Soon, you will pass peacefully into sleep, outsider. And when you awake, you will witness his glory firsthand.
Was this really necessary? Or is it just a dream? Like Bethesda is really obsessed with as well. The sap drinking even exists in Morrowind, now that I think about it. So, that other person said frondescence. Is that him? That's not very frondescentation. It doesn't have many fronds. I mean, it's got a little bit of bush at the bottom. Is this good water? It is not good water. It is bad water. Hello? It moves. It is a talking tree.
Glad to see you're finally awake. I can't believe they made you do that stupid ceremony. They listen when I talk, but they don't hear. You know what I mean?
I must be dreaming.
I wish I was too. Then me and Herbert could be the best of friends and live side by side. He's the tree, see? We're old pals, the best of buddies, and we know each other inside and out. Literally. Well, his name's really Bob. I think it's funny to call him Herbert, but I don't think he thinks it's that funny.
So... You're trapped in there inside this Bob thing?
Well, I suppose you could look at it that way. See, Bob used to ride around on top of my head, sunk his roots right in there, you know. Well, eventually, he got bigger than me, and then I pretty much ended up inside.
How did a tree end up growing out of your head?
It was a long time ago. I tend to lose track. I was exploring some sort of a military base with some other people. I think it was called Mariposa. Mariposa. We were pretty deep inside and we found some weird vats of this nasty green goo. Right when we were about to leave, I think we were attacked. Yeah. Last thing I remember before blacking out was something knocking my friend into the stuff.
Your friend. I can't ask you about that anymore? Really? Well, I guess hopefully your troubles will be over. I'm here to help.
You have no idea how glad I am to hear that. Or we're glad to hear that. Me and Bob. I had you brought in here to ask a very simple favor. Would you please kill me?
What? Kill you? You can't be serious.
Completely serious. You'd be doing me a favor. You see, I've been stuck here for over 2 decades now, rooted right into the ground. The only friends I've got are Bob and those weirdos out there who think I'm a god.
There's an interesting parallel here in this encounter. I don't think Bethesda wanted that parallel, but I'll tell you what that parallel is. I don't think it's intentional. Oh, why don't you just kill I mean, how would I be able to kill you though? You're a tree.
How to put this? I've been feeling rather spread out lately. I think Bob's kinda shoved my insides around some. It's hard to tell where everything is, but it's always that way with one's insides, isn't it? Anyway, I believe Bob's carried some of my organs into his root system. I want you to go underground and destroy my heart.
If I kill you, every tree minder will come after me.
Oh, no, don't worry about them. When you decide to go down there, I'll have a little chat with Birch and the rest of the gang. They usually don't understand a word I say, but I'll make them come around.
Why don't you just kill yourself?
Now, how exactly am I supposed to do that? I can barely move anymore. Thanks to Bob, I'm obviously not going to be doing anything for a very long time.
Okay, I'll do it.
You will? Oh, you made us so happy. Oh, isn't that right, Bob? Just give me a little time to say goodbye to good old Bob and then I'll be ready.
Goodbye, tree?
No. Herbert is the tree. Bob is his real name, but I call him Herbert because I think it's pretty funny. But I'm still in here too. What's left of me? The name's Harold.
Herbert and Harold. Some random tree person in the middle of a grove? This would be kind of considered a grove, wouldn't it? I don't know. Maybe. Groves, what defines a grove is that it's a single tree that has multiple, what look like trees, but they're all connected underground, so that they're a single organism, and it's kind of complicated. I wonder if that is what Bob is. You can see his arm. Yeah, it's a pretty cool piece of design. The writing lets it down, though. The writing really does let it down. There's a few problems here, and, well, there's two problems. There's a few problems, but there's two problems that I can tell you right away. Oh, actually, there's three problems. There's three rambles in one. Oh, you get 3 in 1. This is fantastic. It's going to be a fantastic episode. So who is this person? You have, as if you just play Fallout 3, as many people did, although they might never have found this place. A lot of them might have never. But if you just play Fallout 3, you have no idea. He doesn't tell you who he is. He doesn't tell you what he is, and it's just a quest. You kill this person, and that's it. So it feels very much like an Easter egg. So that's the big. I think that's the first problem, is that this is an underdeveloped character. This is one of the most important characters in Fallout, and I'll tell you who that is. But that leads me to my second issue with this, is that there's a metaphor here that Bethesda did not intend, because they don't do that. They don't do what, I mean, in Morrowind they have one situation where there's metaphor that is on purpose, but well, I say one, but it's a very complicated issue that is related to the main quest, so it can be seen as more than one metaphors in the main quest for Morrowind, which is pretty awesome. But in later games, they just don't do that anymore. And in this one, I'll tell you what's going on, and I'll let you judge for yourself. If you have played Fallout 1 or 2, or both, then you know who Harold is. Most likely you know who Harold is. You don't have to meet Harold. He's not a main. He's an important character, but he's not a main character in Fallout 1 and 2. So he is. He's not one. If I remember correctly, he wasn't alive by the time the bombs fell, but he's alive 80 years after the bombs fell, or 60 years. I think it's 80 years. Fallout 1 is 80 years after the bombs fell. Fallout 2 is 160 years after the bombs fell. Let me look at our Pip-Boy. Nope. Fallout 2 is 180 years after the bombs fell, and Fallout 1 is 60 years after the bombs fell, right? I don't. Either way, there's a big discrepancy, which is great. The distinction, the length of time that is such a great thing, honestly, about Fallout 1 and 2, is the length of time between the two games, and the length of time between the war and the two games is such an important thing, because and honestly, Fallout 2 doesn't handle it as well as it should, but generally speaking, Fallout 1 is actually relatively close to the big war, and at least in comparison. That's 77. This is 200 years after the war, and we still see wooden houses around in Fallout 3, and that sends me up a wall, and I complain, and I make jokes about it every once in a while, but there's no real point in rambling too much about it, so I don't ramble about it every chance I get in this game, just every other chance I get. So in this Let's Play, I should say. But Fallout 2 everything is devastated. Like, the first town you meet, it's all new buildings. There's no old war buildings in the first town you meet. It's all new stuff, and in the first vault you find, the entrance is just a hole in the ground. There's nothing. It's just all destroyed. All of the land is basically baked sand. It's all gone. And there are some pre-war cities later on in the game, or further south, but they're just so detached from anything that a city was. It's just ruins. It's just absolute ruins. And in fact, Fallout 1 makes the case that people making their lives in Junktown, for example, have a better life, or better conditions than people living even a little bit further south in the Den. Or the Den is also a mix of old ruins and new houses. But this is like 60 or 80 years after the war, and everything is destroyed already, which makes sense from a world design standpoint, but also, more importantly, it sets a tone. Fallout 1 doesn't attach itself to the pre-war, and it's very jarring. It's if you start the game and you're like in this vault where there's people from before the war, or there's not people from before the war because it's 80 years after the war, but it's the families of the before the war. It's a little bit like Fallout 3 does. In setting yourself up. But look at all the old stuff, and then you're just sent into a desert, in just with sparse populations in Fallout 1. I'm saying you're sent into a desert where nobody remembers the before the war, even 80 years after, which makes sense. It is realistic, but also, as I'm saying, it sets the tone, and it's really cool. It makes it so rewarding to find old stuff, to find things from before the war. And Harold, he's not from before the war, as I was saying, but he's the first inkling of things from before the war. He's also a very, very important lore character, because he explains what happens in regards to the main quest line in Fallout 1. There's no real need to explain it too much, and that's why I'm saying it here in Fallout 3. He doesn't say anything here, and he could mention. He could mention what he is. He found the place where the super mutants come from. And his friend, he says friends, he went with friends. As far as I know, he only had one friend. Maybe I'm misremembering his dialogue in Fallout 1. But in Fallout 1, he has like a big dialogue, and he doesn't cough as much as it does in Fallout 2. In Fallout 2, I'll touch on what I think of him in Fallout 2. But in Fallout 1, you just meet him in the Den, and he's there. He's an important character. He's a ghoul. He's a ghoul, by the way. This game makes no mention of him being a ghoul. And you wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at him, because it doesn't look like a ghoul in Fallout 3. Ghouls in Fallout 3 don't look like ghouls. They look like zombies. But he doesn't look like one. He looked like Harold. That's his face. Yeah, he looks like Harold. So if you have played the first couple of games, you know who he is. You know right away who he is, because you look at him and he says Bob, and you're like, oh yeah, I know who you are. And the Bethesda has the goal of announcing his name in the last line. I'm Harold. Yeah, no duh. No duh. No duh. And for people who haven't played Fallout 1 or 2, yeah, you might as well have been called Jeffrey, because who knows? Harold means nothing. He's not an important character. He's never referenced anywhere else in the game, and there's no reason why he would be referenced anywhere else in the game. The people who worship him don't know him. Nobody knows him because he's meaningless. He's not a main character. He's an important character in Fallout because he has a talking face and he's very memorable, and in Fallout 1 specifically because he tells you about the Mariposa base where his friend got lost and became the Master. That's his friend, Richard. I forget the name of his friend. I forget his second name, the last name for the Master. The Master is mentioned in this game, by the way. He's the main villain, I suppose, or one of the main villains in the first game, and is the creator of the super mutants. Is the creator of the centaurs. Is the creator of the other vagina-looking spitting things that I forget the name of. I say vagina-looking because they're modeled after a vagina in the first game. They don't look like vaginas in later games. They don't look like vaginas in the first game either, but whatever. What are they called? It's the spitters, or what? I forget the name of. It's some of the creatures that the super mutants travel with. We've seen a centaur only once. I think we have not seen the floaters. Floaters, that's what they are. Floaters. And the green goo is the FEV. The FEV, that is a very, very important plot point of both Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. It is not a plot point that Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas, or as far as I know, Fallout 4 use. And it's alright. The FEV was, you know, it's alright. I honestly thought that Fallout 2 used the FEV in a fresh, new way. Thought it was interesting. The main plot of Fallout 2, I think, is at least it's very thematically appropriate, and I really like how it's a new take on the same issue. But yeah, the FEV. What is the FEV? The FEV was developed in the Mariposa base, and I think he was attacked just by monsters that were in there. He doesn't say much when he explains it in the first game, and in the second game, he definitely doesn't say much. But in the first game, he gets attacked by monsters, and yeah, his friend gets stuck, and that's where he became a ghoul. He becomes a ghoul because of the FEV. Which is a little bit of a plot hole. It's kind of complicated. The game kind of shrugs it away. Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 shrugs it away, and that's fine. Whatever. We don't really care. It's not that big of a deal. And Fallout 3 also doesn't. And none of the Bethesda Fallouts treat the ghoul origins as being what they should be, which is people who were exposed to radiation in the Great War and just survived and became ghouls. I honestly think ghouls are such an incredibly powerful visual for Fallout, but they're not used properly by Bethesda, and at this point they're completely corrupted. So if there's a future Fallout that has ghouls in it, it's never going to be what I see ghouls as, but I can ramble about ghouls in another time. But they're ghosts. They're basically people who lived through the Great War. And Harold did not. He got turned into a ghoul through exposure to radiation, because there's radiation in the vats, but also through the FEV. So he lives to see another day, and he never knows about his friend. But he could know about his friend after. I don't actually remember if in Fallout 2 I think he might mention the Master in Fallout 2. He might just mention it in passing. In Fallout 2, he's really not a main character in Fallout 2. He just has much fewer lines than he does in Fallout 1. And they're all voice acted, and he has a talking head in Fallout 1 and 2. But in Fallout 2, he just coughs a lot, and he's just played. I think, honestly, in Fallout 2, he's just there because it's cheap to import a talking head from the first game, and they had the voice actor already, because he voice acts other characters in Fallout 2 as well. And I think, if I'm not mistaken. And so they just made, they brought Harold back in Fallout 2. That makes total sense for them to do that in Fallout 2. But he's not a big character in Fallout 2. The metaphor here, though, is that this is a character that represents something that was brought back from Fallout 1 and 2. A character that only people who played Fallout 1 or 2 are gonna recognize. He's not given a life in Fallout 3 that connects him to the previous games. He really is not given a life. He is not given a description from the previous games. So this is exclusively for the benefit of people who played Fallout 1 and 2. And the metaphor is that you're meant to kill him because he wants to die. The thing that they brought back from Fallout 1 and 2 wants to die. In a game that turned Fallout into a shooter, turned Fallout into a dungeon crawler, in fact. It's not even that it's a shooter. This could be a turn-based game, top-down, doesn't matter. The design of the game is a dungeon crawler. This Let's Play is not a dungeon crawler, in the sense, in any sense of the word. And certainly not a shooter. I mean, we're packing heat. We're good for this. And I was ready to kill him with this thing, but apparently we can't do that. Or maybe we can, but it probably wouldn't do much. But yeah, this game, I'm making a Let's Play that is meant, first off, for me to enjoy the game. And I am enjoying the game. I'm really, really enjoying my playthrough of Fallout 3. But I'm doing it like this to prove a point, and I'll explain. Well, I will see if the point is proven. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be proven by the end of the Let's Play. But it's to prove a point, and to have fun, and to provide fun as well. A different kind of fun. It's not the authentic Fallout 3 experience. This Let's Play isn't. Because the authentic Fallout 3 experience is a a dungeon crawling shooter. It is absolutely that. And Bethesda wants us, the people who know Fallout 1 and 2, to kill the thing that they brought back. So that's the metaphor. And I don't think Bethesda meant it like that. That's why I prefaced this by saying Bethesda didn't mean it. Not because they can't work with metaphor, but because they don't actually work with metaphor. That's not their modus operandi after Morrowind anymore. It hasn't been for 2 decades now, although this game is not 2 decades, or 12 years old, 13 by the time of recording. I don't know. But they don't work with that. But also because I really don't think they wanted it. I think Bethesda is a big company, and it's complicated making games that you don't have systems to make. Bethesda can't make a game that they're not used to make, and that's for corporate reasons, but also for artistic reasons. They know how to make their games somehow, and they make them. And they were never gonna make a Fallout 3 that resembles or is designed like Fallout 1 and 2. They would never do that. For corporate reasons, but also for artistic reasons. I think, honestly, they meant to bring Harold back into the world of Fallout 3. They meant it as a extension of their hand and just be like, hey, people who play Fallout 1 and 2, here's something cool. You'll like this. Never mind that I'm telling you to kill it. Never mind that I'm not telling anybody else about what it is. We're gonna kill it, though. We're gonna kill Harold, and we're gonna feel nothing for it because he doesn't matter. Harold isn't an important character in this game, certainly, but in the first couple of games it doesn't matter. He's annoying, actually, in the second game. If a lot more people play Fallout 2 than play Fallout 1. So a lot of people know him more as an annoying old bastard than as who he actually is. A friend of a main villain. An old friend, anyway. Yep. Now, what do I need to do?